Hi, this is Jill Six, and you're listening to WithoutYourHead.com.
Without Your Head. I am Nasty Neil.
That would make me terrible too.
Yes. And joining us here this evening, we have independent horror director. He's a new short out right now, which we're going to talk about, which I love the name, Snake with Human Tail. We have Spencer Gray on the line.
Hey, how's it going, guys? Love the show.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's the end of the interview. That's all we need. No,
I've been listening since about 2010.
Excellent. Well, thanks. Nice. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And so we're going to talk about Snake with a Human Tail. First of all, like I said, the name is very catchy. I love it. Was that always the original name?
Yeah. Actually, I wrote it as a feature, but I never really could get it financed. So I said, screw it. I'm just gonna, because everybody would shy away from the subject material when it came time to write a check. So I was like, you know what? And, I had some other scripts I was trying to get financed as well, and people kind of, do the same deal, even with a drama I wrote, kind of intense. So I said, screw it, I'm just going to shorten it down and make it a short and finance it myself, and with some, kindness of some other people, some other investors, and a lot of actors and crew that donated the precious time, which I'll appreciate to the grave. So they know who they are.
Mm-hmm. Well, also you say that, nowadays, I think shorts are kind of making a comeback, especially with a lot of the anthology films like ABC's of Death. So do you think, doing a short that will help you? Well, I would assume you would hope anyway. That would help you then to be able to make a feature at some point, because then people can get to see, well, maybe I couldn't make this feature, but here's what I can do, so hopefully I can make a feature.
Yeah, actually, I've already been hired to write and direct a feature called Left Hand Lords. It's finance feature. It's, we start pre-production in May, hopefully, tentatively anyway. You know how this business is. So, but, it having some kind of really heavy product out there, it's kind of like going to a heavy music concert, that's any good, having a product out there, I hate to call it a product, but everything in the end boils down to that, even if it's not commercial, really. It helps people take you seriously, I would guess. And, you start showing at festivals and conventions, and if it's got high production value, even if it's, rough as Martyrs or a Serbian film or something, people are going to stand up and take notice. And, I think shorts are making a comeback because, there's not a lot of money floating around out there right now because of the big Hollywood Godzilla monster that's remaking everything. And they even tried to pass a petition through the unions to outlaw and banish independent filmmaking. People like Bruce Willis tried to get it signed. It failed miserably, but,
That's just insane to me.
Yeah, I think short films are kind of doing what, happened in the music scene when I was growing up. Like Danzig and Sam Hain and, Black Flag turned into Rollins and so forth, kind of forced their way into, because people were showing up and going to the shows. No advertisement, just word of mouth. people wanted heavy music. People wanted something to, get their nuts off, and that's what they got when they went to those shows. And these glam bands, all this commercial piss was getting, that was for the girls with the big hair back in my day. So, you get frustrated as an artist, and you just say, you know what, I'm just going to make a short. And, with Snake, with a human tail, I really just kind of put my middle finger in the air and said, you know what, if this does anything, great, and if it doesn't, well, maybe I'll go teach somewhere or something. It's kind of at that point where, again, I just had heard the word no, or not right now, or this is not commercial enough, or this isn't marketable enough for the last time. And, I'm not going to water something down. I don't want to, that's not what I want to be known for. If I wanted to make Transformers, or, I'd be out waxing Michael Bay's, Bentley or whatever. Can I get you some coffee, Mr. Bay? Not for me.
Now, when you do make a short for yourself, like where, how do you get it seen? Because it's not like a movie where you can sell on DVD. It's just one individual short. What's like the best way to get it out there and people to see it?
We got to make it first. It's the best way. I already had connections with people through websites and, doing either going to or, helping to co-promote a lot of conventions. I've been going to those since, I'd say, the best advice I could give is work at conventions, build your contact base, build your network base, be kind to everybody, even if they're not very cool to you. That way, if you do have something cool out there, you can call them up, like Jill Six, who I'd never met or spoken to, but her film Call Girl is what I hear outstanding and doing very well. And, she's done the same thing. She's built not just a fan base, but, connection-based, network-based, people you network with. And, and I really had just moved back to my hometown of Dallas from Los Angeles after a lot of frustrating things had happened. And I just sent the script for Snake to a local actress who plays Karma, actually, Sherry Davis, and she just got helped. She just helped out every way she could, and it was like fate, it just all fell into place. And not saying it didn't cost any money, but we didn't have a whole lot, so I figured everybody's really going to hate this or really going to like it, and people are digging it, so people get what you're about and what you got to say, and, they know you're sincere in trying to do something cool or different or have something that, some social commentary value. I think they all kind of work together to get you where you need to be, I don't think you're going to get, a lot of films do, but I think at this point in the game, you need to force your way in there with something unique and original. Copycatting something else is just going to, it's like, it's not going to get you very far.
Mm-hmm. For people not aware, you want to give like a synopsis of what it's about without giving too much away.
Well, I don't want to give away too much.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of plot twists. I'm sure it's out. The cat's out of the bag by now. But it's basically, to make a long, complicated story short. And it is a very big story condensed into 31 minutes. This priest, Father Fulci, my homage to, what I grew up watching there. He's a convicted pedophile. He's also a priest, man of the cloth, works for the Vatican, Holy See, and he's kind of on his last go-around with these. They've gotten past the moving from parish to parish and paying off families, and he's gotten so out of control that court finally puts him on probation, says you need to see this psychiatrist, and that's kind of the way the movie opens. And to me, there's no violence in it. It's just these two men having a conversation, and to me and a lot of other people, it's the most intense part of the film before all the action even happens.
Mm-hmm.
And the crux of the story is that he molested this little boy named Henry for years and years and years, and even had an affair with his mother. And then the kid disappears. So, Fulci can't understand what happened to this kid. He goes on with his demented, twisted little life, and you start seeing this transgender prostitute he just can't turn down, and it turns out that um, the little boy had grown up and changed his identity and his gender to get close to this priest as an adult, and that's not the twist. It's easy to figure out. The twist is the revenge part. It's the way the movie ends. I love being in an audience watching people. I can't be at all the showings and screens, but when I am, it's really cool to watch people's jaws kind of hit the ground and what she does to him. It's never been done before in any movie I know. So it's the revenge part of it's kind of what gets people off and, makes them go, hell yeah. Because it's not just like she, it's kind of hard to talk about the ending because it's such a delicate little flower. I don't want to give it away. So, but, you just kind of can't help but smile to yourself and, take that asshole. That's going to last forever.
So the reaction has been positive, shown at the conventions.
Yeah, and she also suffers from a condition called CIPA, C-I-P-A. Well, I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's actual human real condition where people can't feel pain. They're born that way. So he also becomes kind of a masochist and goes to cutting on her and beating her up and all kind of making her crawl across glass and all this stuff. So we actually had to cut the glass scene, but just for time, I mean, but yeah, there's enough brutality and craziness in there, crazy, brutal stuff for people to, and then you have the end, which kind of smacks you in the face, so yeah, it's awesome to watch people go, ah.
Is that like the best part, just to see like people's reactions?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, if Paranormal Activity hadn't done it already in some other films I've seen, just showing the whole trailer basically is the audience's reaction. Yep. I would have definitely included that in we've got our third alternate trailer out now, and I definitely would have included. But I don't want to be derivative or do something else somebody else did.
Right.
I never want to get put in that kind of a what they call pigeonholing. I don't ever want to do that. So. I don't want to rip anybody else's ideas off either. I mean, if it can't be original or at least exciting or have something to say, to be sincere in whatever way, I really don't want much to do with it. I've done all the paycheck stuff. I've worked in makeup, off and on for a long time and helped out on other indie films. I've done television. I've done some pretty large scale budget films as well. So. I'm just out to do my own thing right now. If people get it, that's awesome,
So the first time you showed it, though, was it nerve-wracking? The very first time you showed it in front of an audience?
Oh, dude, I was a mess. I was. It was at Horror Hound. That was our big debut. We'd never shown it anywhere except in private, like invite only. Come over to my house and watch it, kind of thing. And we promoted it so well. Mara Blavel, who played Father Fulci, he got dressed up, as a priest with these horns. We had blood all over him. He's walking around the convention passing out these revival flyers that our graphic artist Chris Young did. Come to this revival, blah blah blah. Plus, we showed right after Time to Kill. So people were coming back in, and so the whole room fills up, and I'm sweating. I'm wearing a Dickies shirt, and I'm just sweating through it. I'm sitting there fanning myself like a whore in church, Oh my God, because I'm like, there's just also a pretty big reveal in there, kind of like a Crying Game kind of thing, where you see some anatomy, and I'm just like, well, these people are gonna hate this. I'm just like, almost wanted to throw up. Everybody dug it, and I was like, at the end we got a standing O, and I was like, really?
Oh, that's tremendous.
This is gonna work. So I was like, cool. And then we won Best Short at Horror Hound, and then they wanted me to come up and say a little bit about the. Then I was like, I'm not much of a public speaker. That's why I like behind the camera. So, but it turns out I do have a big mouth. So, and I was pretty jazzed. Everybody liked it, and we'd won an award. So then I went to see Psycho Charger play, and that's when I kind of let my hair down a little bit and let go of the nerves. So it was all good.
Yeah.
And every screening since then has been pretty cool too. So.
Do you get an actual award, by the way? Do you get like a plaque or something?
Yeah, we got the Horror Hound Award. It's like a little statue thing,
Nice.
like a film reel with Horror Hound paw imprint. in the middle of the reel, and it's got the name of the movie on it, and all that groovy stuff. Jason, Hignight, and his crew put on a really great show. Actually, all the festivals and things we've played have been, had great guests and treated us really well. We just did Culture Shock, and Jason Hoover and those guys treated us really well. And, Billy Blair was able to come finally to an out-of-town screening, and we had, Marv wasn't able to make it, but we had Sherry and Billy, and so it was a really cool time.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
Now, you mentioned the artwork. I really like the religious artwork of like the logo of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Who did that?
Chris Young, guy that did the revival flyer. Actually, Chris is, he does he's a graphic artist and also does movie reviews, and we've become pretty good friends, past year or two. And he's, he said, he did a review of the movie, actually the script first and then the movie, and he's like, I gotta get this great. He said, do you have a poster yet? And I was like, no, man, I can't find anything I like,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't want it to have this Miss 45 kind of vibe or something like that, or I spit on your grave kind of vibe. So he's like, I've got a great idea. Give me a week or two. So he sends it back to me, and it was just beautiful. So we used it, and he's going to be doing a lot of stuff on Left Hand Lords, the feature that I've been hired to write and direct.
Nice.
So it's he's a great artist, and he's great with words, and just an all around great guy. So I really dig Chris and what he's about too. Everybody that I consider in my camp is really sincere and true artists, and that's what I want to be around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Now, I saw you did you worked on special effects before directing your own project. Did you do the special effects on this movie?
I did some, yeah. It was a big production to be short,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a bar scene, and everybody had to be, in camera ready makeup. We also had some effects stuff that happened outside the bar. So I did some appliance stuff, and basically it was just makeup and hair. We had some drag queens in the bar, and luckily they came makeup ready. So just had to do some minor things, but. And I did, I helped out with, Jeremy Mitchell, associate producer and editor in chief of the film. He did one of the first big effects, and we were going to, that, Carpenter's dust.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we were going to use that for blood mist, and it malfunctioned and didn't work. So the next time, and he got all covered in dust. So I said, well, let's use liquid, and since you took the first bullet, I'll take the second one. So, re-rigged the effect, get in there. The effect worked great. What I didn't count on is the blood went up, hit the ceiling, came right back down on my head. So I'm totally out of frame, covered in blood, and Jeremy's laughing at me going, take that. So, I didn't really plan on, totally forgot about the ceiling. So, but we wound up, it turned out to be a great effect though, so that's all that counts at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's all worth it then.
You mentioned cutting a scene where with the glass scene. Now, will that ever pop up somewhere? Like if this is put on a DVD or special or anything?
Oh yeah, of course. We really just cut it for time. Mm-hmm. It was it's one of those scenes. First thing that I ever learned, when I first started learning about directing, the great William Butler. I worked on his film Furnace and on the special effects crew, and he and I have been friends for a good while, and he kind of took me under his wing, and, it was basically 4 years of film school in 28 days, but he told me, he said, always be prepared to cut your favorite scene, So, as a director, anyway. So that's the first lesson I learned making Snake, and I just kept remembering what Billy said, have to, be prepared to do that. So we had to chuck the glass scene. So it'll turn up somewhere, I'm sure, along with lots of long shots to hallways. People knocking on the crack house hotel room door where we shot the hotel scene. God, that was miserable. You get going, and somebody knocks on the door. Can I have some of your water? And it's like this homeless dude, Actually, thank the people at the hotel for not killing us or anything. So,
any of those guys
yeah.
that make it in the movie? Any of the homeless people walking around?
Yeah, in the background. There's even a Fort Worth cop, I think. You barely see him in the background. They'd come through to check on us. We had our own security that were off-duty police officers. We still had cops coming around, making sure everything was all right. And people asking us, we're filming a porn. And I'm like, what, with the cops out here? We're not filming a porn. So, yeah, I mean, it's a really bad hotel, man. I mean, you have no idea. I mean, it literally had a bulletproof walk-up to the window glass things, like out of a John Glickenhaus movie, like The Exterminator, where you walk up and you pay by the hour. And you want the sheet? It's like $5 for sheets. And so we brought our own so we could bloody them up.
Clean sheets, that's $10.
That reminds me, when we were in Atlanta once, and we went to this restaurant, and we walked in, there's a big sign that said about to leave your guns outside. And so I was just like, then I walked in, I was like, man, this is not probably a good place to be if they have to have like a sign telling you not to bring your guns inside the restaurant.
Oh, where were you? I didn't hear were you in Texas?
Atlanta.
Oh, Atlanta. Yeah, there's signs all over Texas the same way.
See, we're Massachusetts guys. We're not used to that.
Right.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, y'all just kill everybody with attitude, right?
That's it, exactly.
I'm from Texas. We'll shoot and kill you.
Yeah.
So, we don't have an electric chair. We have an electric bench, I mean, we just, like, I think executed, like, our 400th person the other day or something. So.
Well,
pretty crazy state.
Being in Texas, how did people react to the religious themes in the movie?
Oh, God, man, you should see my hate mail. Or my hate email. I don't think there's any such thing as hate mail anymore, but, they'll send me a friend request on Facebook. They'll send me a nasty message. And, I don't ever unfriend them, though. I just never hear from them again because, but yeah, I mean, I'm a Satanist. And, it's all spelled wrong. So, I mean, I just consider the source. It's like, I'm not trying to cause unrest, in your little religious community. I'm trying to point things out in our society. I'm trying to start a conversation, not upset anyone. If it upsets you, well, maybe you needed to be upset. Is, paraphrasing an old Suicidal Tendency song, but, like I said, I grew up in the punk rock era, so what do you expect from me?
Were you raised in, I mean, I don't know if you're talking about, but were you raised in a religious home?
No, well, I guess my dad was into some weird shit. I don't know, he would talk to spirits and things, and I don't know, he even claimed one time he was communicating with somebody in hell, so it was like, no wonder I have a dark side, but, my mom raised me right, so she actually my love of horror films and stuff, like, along that line, even, I don't have a love for the occult, but I have an interest in it, read a book now and again, I don't practice it, believe in it, but, came from her, my love of books, my love of music, my love of everything positive, pretty much came from my mom. My dad was just I don't want to sound like Heath Ledger's Joker, but he's pretty much a weirdo and a deviant, so I won't talk about him much. But I wasn't really raised religious, no.
Yeah. No. Well, along those lines, when was it you decided, like, you wanted to actually be involved in movies? Like, that's what something you wanted to do?
Everybody asks me this. Pivotal moment for me was my grandmother, who was very gaudy, just, kind of lived in her own little world where the air didn't move. Beautiful, sweet, precious woman, though, that, my brother and I would stay the night over at my grandparents' house on Friday nights, and then on Saturdays, my grandmother would take us to the movies. And she'd always go see something else, because back then, this is the 70s we're talking about, people didn't just, run off with kids like they do nowadays. If you did, you didn't hear about it much. It was but anyway, she, went to see her romance movie, comedy, whatever she was going to watch. And we were supposed to go see a cartoon, but we snuck into Texas Chainsaw, and nobody stopped us. And, yeah, seriously. And instead of being scared, I was in love with it. I was like, even that young, I was like, oh my God. And then when the cable channel started coming on TV, I'd sneak downstairs in the middle of the night, put a blanket over the family television, and turn it on like View. It used to be, I think one of the first cable stations was View. And they show, so I actually saw John Carpenter's Halloween 2 before I saw the first one. And, I just thought it was the most beautiful movie I'd ever watched. I was like, that's what I have to do for a living. And then I discovered music, and, I played music for a while with my brother. We had a band and played metal for a while. And I just, something was missing in the music for me, and I enjoyed the hell out of it. But, I just decided after a while, film is where I had to be. So here I am. I'm going anywhere. So.
Now, were you always a fan of horror movies, or just a fan of movies in general?
I'd seen other films before Chainsaw, so of course, I was always a fan of, movies in general. Blade Runner, Star Wars, all that stuff that was out when I was a kid, growing up. I love a good comedy like anybody else. I really don't like to go watch anything too dramatic, I don't like to watch people be in pain unless it's in a horror film. I know it's very, it's a big dichotomy there. To say that, it's kind of hypocritical to say, but, I know a horror movie's fake, and then with dramas, really good ones, I'll get sucked into it, and I don't like emotional things very well. I don't deal with it very well, because then I'll be depressed for till Christmas. I can't believe the mom died of cancer. I try to avoid those kind of films. I take my mom every once in a while just because, she wouldn't have anybody to go with. But, no, I've always been a big fan of movies and music and literature on comics. Always have been. Always will be.
Why do you think it is it's easier to, or it's for you or a lot of horror movie fans to watch violence or people suffering in a horror movie as opposed to like a dramatic film where it's, I guess, more realistic? Or not necessarily realistic, but it's a different.
I guess because, yeah. No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying not necessarily more realistic because I guess a lot of horror movies do it in a realistic way too, but.
Yeah, I know what you mean, man. Like something that would commonly happen, and whereas opposed, a guy in a hockey mask doesn't come to your, house every day, but the guy down the street has to live with cancer every day. I get that, yeah. I think because we go to the movies to escape, and everybody's got this, everybody's got a dark side. I don't care what they say, that doesn't necessarily mean they're evil. It just is a dark side, whatever. You look at what 50 Shades of Grey has done. It made over $300 million, in just a handful of days. But I've yet to meet anybody who will admit to watching the movie or reading the book.
Very true.
That's trash. I would never let anybody remember about. Oh, poor shit. Everybody felt the same way in the 80s when it was called 9.5 Weeks. Before that, when it was called Caligula. And before that, when it was called Last Tango in Paris.
Yeah.
And before that, when Marquis de Sade was writing about it. Everybody's got a dark side. If our brains could be broadcast outside of our heads, people would, there would be just nothing but terror in the streets all the time. If anybody says that's not true is a liar. I think. I don't know.
I'd like to know what, besides it being the first one you saw, what was it about Texas Chainsaw Massacre? You think that really affected you?
The way it was shot, the way it made me feel, the intensity of it. It was something I had not felt before. It was something that I had never experienced. So, and it was, I don't know, it was just amazing to me. It's kind of like, people who grow up to be artists. They go to a museum for the first time, or see a big Disney film for the first time, and they know they want to be an artist. It's one of those things you can't explain, I guess. But I guess it was the intensity of it. And I've always thought that villains, especially ones that have a sad side to them, I've always rooted for them. I've always thought they were kind of beautiful in a demented kind of way. You know, Godzilla, Michael Myers, Leatherface, so Jason, and you know, they made him this sad Godzilla type character, and FBJ. You know, so I think the only time I ever rooted for the good guy was like in Evil Dead. You know, when Ash, you know, gets after it with cutting off his hand and. You know, but I don't know. We've always had this side. I root for the bad guys. You know, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I wouldn't want it to happen in real life, of course. You know, nobody should ever really lose their life. But you know, there's an escape. You know, I always, you know, make up like my own. Always like when I was a kid, I'd write short stories about like Michael Myers or Jason. You know, like what they did when they weren't killing people or before they killed people. You know, I've just always been writing and kind of imagining this or that, so
yeah,
just seemed natural for me.
That's great.
Those some we've talked about a lot on the show. There's really for us anyway, very few like you're saying, very few villains in horror movies that like are so like bad you actually don't root for them. You know, we did a whole show about them. There's not too many.
Actually, I've never been a Freddy fan. The reason being is because, like the first Nightmare on Elm Street, yeah, it was a brilliant film, but I didn't really care for it, and I never really cared for what the franchise turned into and how it became a part of pop culture. You know, I don't think you know, Wes Craven, who's now the Justin Bieber of horror, I don't think he set us to do anything evil, but I never was a Freddy fan because I have a big heart for animals and kids, and I just couldn't get past the part that he was a child molester and he killed children. Even though in the movies he's killing, adult teenagers, you know, but his background was little kids, you know, and I didn't think that needed to be glamorized. No one should ever harm a child or an animal or something that can't defend itself, or you know, pick up a phone and call the police and say, hey, you know what I mean? So, I never really liked Freddy. Not a fan of Saw, any of the Saw films. I'm not a fan. I think, you know, it's kind of like, the first Saw movie, I'll admit, first time I saw it, but I had it figured out, so it kind of ruined it for me. I knew the dude on the floor was the guy. I guess, yeah. So it kind of escaped me, you know, why people liked it so much. But, I mean, if you want torture and mayhem, watch something from France or Asia. You know, I never thought Jigsaw was very original or his motivation for things. I mean, you know, it's just not all that deep to me, and it just was kind of pointless. So, I mean, but those are the two I just really don't really like all that much.
Yeah. Did you ever see New Nightmare? Because I actually think, for me, it's the first Nightmare on Elm Street and New Nightmare are the best of those. I thought they really actually dealt with a lot of stuff you're talking about well, where it was like talking about showing how he's really Freddy was the hero of the film The People, and how that's it's very odd.
Demon. Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. You know, I did like that movie. It's not like something that I don't own any of the Nightmare movies. And a lot of people, wow, man, you're not a true horror fan. Whatever. You know, I actually thought, you know, I talked about this on another program like yours, on another show, the remake. I thought they were going to go in the direction that Freddy was actually innocent. You know,
I thought that too. You know, actually, from the trailer, that's what it made it look like.
Yeah, I had thought he was even from the trailer I got it. I thought, well, what a cool spin! If they just have to remake it, you know, and they got Jackie Earl Haley, you know, and he plays this really meek, humble guy that plays with the kids, and he's this unassuming kind of guy, this space guy, you know, and he's got this endearing side and. And I figured, well, okay, so the kids are going to blame him because they did something bad, and they try to put the blame off on him, and then the parents kill him, and that's why he's coming back for revenge. I thought, now that's a cool idea for a revenge flick. And then right in the middle of the movie, they spin it all around, and the first part wasn't done very well. Anyway, so I'm just, the Freddy makeup from the get-go, I was like, God, he looks like a burned cat. So I was just like, I'm not in this.
Yeah.
And all the goofy blood effects I couldn't get over either.
Yeah, I know. I mean, don't CGI blood. I don't care how, don't CGI blood, and don't make it glittery when it's flying through the air either.
That one was I think there's pretty much everything wrong with the movie, but that one really made it. They went out and just said Freddy was a child molester. In the first one, it was. I think it's pretty clear he is, but they don't necessarily come out and tell you. But then that made that really strange because, like, I know a lot of people have Freddy Krueger tattoos and whatnot, and then you're watching this movie where the guy's just a straight up, child molester, and it's like, I don't know who that movie is really supposed to appeal to. I don't think like real fans of the franchise was going to like it, and it wasn't a very good movie.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've talked to numerous. My brother Daniel's a big Freddy fan. We get in arguments all the time. Who won and FVJ. Or who's better, Jason or Freddy? I'm Jason, and he loves Freddy, Yeah, but I mean, even Nightmare fans, I think, hated hated the remake. It was just like all these people from like the CW and they've been on like the 90210 rehash and Dawson's Creek, and it's like it's like early part of the 2000s. What was it with putting everybody that's been on the CW or a rapper in a freaking horror film? It was like, you take us out of the moment anymore. I let them get away with it with H2O because H2O was, I don't care what people say, I love that movie. But then they throw that Busta Rhymes guy and Resurrection killed it for me. Even though I love Brad, Lorray to death, I just couldn't get into Resurrection very much. It was just bad.
Yeah, he's like beating up Michael Myers in the house, and yeah, it's not good.
Yep.
There was a document. I forget what it's called, but it's a documentary of the whole franchise of Nightmare on Elm Street. And what's really interesting is there's one part they talked to somebody who wrote like the original script for Freddy vs. Jason, and he talked about his idea, and I thought it was interesting, but I thought like all the fans of both movies would hate it. Was his idea was before Freddy was killed, he had raped Jason as a little boy, and then drowned him, so he wouldn't tell anybody, and then that's how like they're fighting. And I was like, that's kind of a neat idea, but at the same time, it's like if you're a fan of Jason or Freddy, you don't want to go see a movie where one of them's like being raped and the other guy's the rapist.
That was actually Fangoria had that idea, and they really didn't want to pay the guy any money for his idea kind of thing or something. I don't know. Or they weren't going to give him credit or something. It was just, so it's just something they threw away, but they wrote about it in Fangoria as, I remember that, as a what if. They were talking about Freddy versus Jason since I was in high school. I graduated in 1990.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's like, it took them like all that time to make, one movie, and all the scripts that were on the internet, and there was even one where they fight in a boxing ring, and I was like, oh, God, if they do that, I'm just going to never watch a movie again. Just books for me forever,
Yep.
But thank God they didn't do that.
So how far?
There was a script on the internet. I read it with Mel, and it was awful. It was like a 3-year-old wrote it, and it was actually, I don't want to call anybody out, it was actually by a notable screenwriter, and I was like, dude, we got, like, doing shrooms when you wrote this and watching Rocky, and what is up with this idea?
I just saw that there actually is not horror, but there's a spin-off of Rocky. They're making a Creed movie. Where it's
Apollo Creed movie?
Well, yeah, it's called Creed, and it actually sounds kind of neat. It's about his son, and Rocky is his trainer. Stallone plays Rocky in the Creed movie.
No kidding. I haven't heard anything about that. I'm a big Rocky fan, so
yeah, me too.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a still just came out. It was just yesterday I saw it, like late last night maybe.
Just don't tell me it's Jaden Smith, okay? Don't tell me.
No, I don't think so. But it was kind of neat because it was Rocky has Creed and he's out having him chase chickens, which is like a callback to Rocky. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Well, if they got to do another Rocky movie, that's kind of brilliant.
Yeah.
Good for them. Another who's he going to fight? He's fought everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
There's like this horrible idea I read about, almost threw my iPhone across the room. There's some rumor about another Rambo where he fights a super soldier like in that Dolph Lundgren movie. I was like, oh, please, God, no. It was like called The Snake's Middle Eye or something. I don't know. I was just like, what are they, people just doing drugs, man. Bad one.
Yeah, they are making another. It's Last Blood, I believe it's called Rambo or Final Blood or something like that.
Yeah, I read about that. Yeah, I mean, you never know what's true. I mean, it's like not too long ago I read about a 24 and Die Hard crossover that was going to be called Die Hard 24/7. I mean, I was like, that would be the worst thing ever. Besides, Freddie and Jason in the, boxing ring with Ash as the ref. That would, but,
Yeah, but then the winner gets to fight Apollo Creed's kid.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I still want to, I heard they shot an alternate ending where they both go back to hell, Freddie and Jason, and Pinhead steps out. You guys know if that's actually on film or is that just some fan thing that floats around the internet from time to time?
Wow, I don't know.
Pinhead steps out and says what seems to be the problem.
See, that would be tremendous.
I know. I thought that. I was like, why did it not end that way?
Yeah.
If they really shot that and there was no dispute from, creative entity to creative entity, why didn't they do that? That would have been. I would have peed on myself way big. Yeah. Over Pinhead doing that. That'd be odd chains coming out and grabbing them, and what seems to be the problem. That would be cool as hell.
Yes, it would be.
But
what are your what are your thoughts on remakes overall?
I hate them. I hate them. I hate them more than I don't know. I just can't stand them. It takes money away from original ideas, and there's a ton of good writers out there that deserve to have their film made. If I were like a Weinstein per se, I'd quit funneling, or Michael Bay, I'd quit funneling my money into my bottom line into these films. I mean, and look at the box office numbers. Every time they remake something, it gets lower and lower. It really does. I mean, even the last Twilight film didn't do as well as they were hoping. Yay for that. Maybe there won't be any more shitty vampire films, I mean, it's like, vampires are dead to me. So, it's like, I'm dead on that. Werewolves almost, because of Underworld, almost killed it for me. I'm just like really, I grew up watching the Universal Monsters and reading a lot of, books about vampires and werewolves, like The Werewolf by Montague Summers, great werewolf book, all supposedly true and documented stories, that kind of thing. To me, yet, there's never been a werewolf movie that's been done right. American Werewolf in London maybe came close. I'm a big fan of that movie, but there's never been a really cool a Wolfman or, werewolf movie. To me, The Howling, yeah, close, very close, but and vampires just don't interest me at all. I liked Blade because he was killing them, was doing it well. So. Now,
what do you think of the new Universal movies? The idea that they're going to reboot all of them, but take them out of the horror genre.
Well, I mean, from a financial perspective, it's a good gamble, but I don't. As a fan, I probably won't see any of them because those are like the holy grail films to me. That and like Hammer and stuff I grew up watching, Dario Argento, things I'm a big fan of. They're talking about remaking Suspiria. I'm like, no, what? No, please don't. That's like remaking Gone with the Wind. You just don't play. I don't know. It's an awful idea. Maybe for this generation of kids, that's good for them, So I'm not I don't have too much hate for it, but as an adult, I'm just not interested. They're gonna put, bunch of, pale, skinny idiots in it, and I'm just not gonna watch.
So I think you didn't see Dracula Untold.
No, I did. I was dragged kicking and screaming, and I actually liked it. You know what? I totally forgot about that. I liked that movie. I thought it was done very well, even though a little too CGI heavy for me, but I did like it a lot.
Dave Deadman here on the Facebook, he brings up Dog Soldiers. He thought was a very good werewolf movie.
Dog Soldiers was done very well. Okay, another one that actually Dog Soldiers You nailed it. Okay, so Your Honor, I withdraw my previous statement. I love Dog Soldiers.
Yeah, American Werewolf in London is my favorite werewolf film, but I never actually liked the look of the werewolf. That's the only thing I don't. I love the transformation scene. I think that's the best transformation scene ever. But I never liked the werewolf. I like a wolfman when they're on two legs. I think that's cooler than just like a straight up wolf.
Yeah, that's the problem I had with it too. I thought the guys wearing the Nazi pig masks that come in his dream and blow the house away were much scarier than the werewolf. I wouldn't have been. If I saw that, in the park or something, guy changing in, it was that really kind of that silly looking. I would probably just stand next to him and watch and go like, you need me to call an ambulance, dude? I mean, that wouldn't scare me at all. The Howling had one of the scariest transformations, and especially when the guy in the morgue with Dee Wallace, that was scary.
Mm-hmm.
I like the look of the werewolf in Silver Bullet.
Silver Bullet's just one of my favorite films. Because it's Stephen King, and number two, to me, it was hilarious. Hardy Boys meet Reverend Werewolf,
Yep.
Gary Busey just was the whole reason the movie was any good.
Busey's king in that movie.
Oh, yeah. Like, I'm not going to have time to play Hardy Boys meet Reverend Werewolf. Y'all go to bed.
So, but back to Snake with a Human Tail. Do you have where can people see it coming up? Do you have any dates booked?
Yeah, we are still going strong. Still waiting to hear back from Texas Frightmare. Don't know for sure on that one yet, but definitely in our future, Crimson Screen Horror Film Festival in Charleston, South Carolina, May 15th through 17th. Fandom Fest with Comic Expo, which I'm really excited about because it's kind of Kevin Smith and Jason Mewes, the comic book men. They're kind of it's their deal. I'm not a WWE guy. I'm more boxing, MMA, but Muay Thai. But supposedly some WWE people, CM Punk, and some girl he's married to that's also a wrestler or something's going to be. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Well, CM Punk, I don't know, you might not be familiar with this, but CM Punk actually has left WWE, and he has just signed with UFC.
Oh, I heard something about that. Maybe that's why he slimmed down so much. I mean, I have seen wrestling. I know who he is. I know he went from being like this, kind of, bulky, muscular guy, and he slimmed down a lot. So maybe he knew in advance that's what he wanted to do. Because I mean, when you're all muscles, MMA is just not for you. You just wait. You're just an injury waiting to happen, a hair loss waiting to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Being that big slows you down. I don't care what anybody says. So
yeah, that's
it's
cool.
hard to throw a good punch, good kick.
Yeah. Well, I hope you do get to Texas Frightmare because we're going to be there. It'll be the first time we've been at Texas Frightmare. Yeah.
Yeah, I hope so too. But I mean, I just mailed the DVD off. So I mean, it's like some festivals have literally gotten back to me like 2 or 3 days before them, and I kind of learned, to follow up. And so I'll probably follow up on that. That's a good reminder for myself doing the show here. Need to follow up on that because I was ill prepared and couldn't go, So, we're going to show it first at 7. I was like, dude, could have told me this 2 weeks ago so I could have planned and bought a ticket,
Right.
Plane ticket or something,
Uh-huh. Now, if because actually here in the Facebook page, everyone is enjoying the interview and said they've become a big fan of yours. They think you're funny here on the show.
Great.
And so how?
Well, I'm a big fan of theirs.
Exactly. Very good.
Already.
So how's the best way to find you on the internet?
Facebook,
Mm-hmm.
Spencer Gray 54. Twitter, it's at Texploitation. I'm on Instagram. I think that's still Spencer Gray 54. Not on it much. I post pictures that I'm a private guy when it comes to my family, so I really just kind of post stuff from cons and festivals and things. don't post memes or anything like that. So I'm not on Instagram much, but I have, about once a week. And, otherwise, I'd say, I do Facebook the most because I get to interact with people the most,
I prefer
I kind of just use Twitter to kind of put my stuff out there, say something smart ass every once in a while, that's about it. But, Facebook I've enjoyed since its inception. I never was a MySpace guy, so it took me a long time to get on Facebook. Like, people always tell, you gotta get on Facebook. It's way better than MySpace. And I was like, I don't know. So then, but, I've kind of, I've got a lot of people I talk to on Facebook, and they dig what I'm doing, so I'll keep going strong. Also, if you want to see Snake with a Human Tail, it's on actually 9:30 Pacific time tonight on Hart Fisher's American Horrors. Mission Terrible Thursday on American Horrors is totally free. We're also on G-Box, Roku, soon to be on Amazon for rent or purchase.
Oh, nice.
But if you want to see us tonight on American Horrors, it's totally free, 9:30 PT, www.filmon.com/channel American-Horrors. And if I could also plug that my good friend Camden Toy, we have the same manager. He is going to be at Alcon in Dallas, Texas, my hometown, this weekend. So,
nice.
If you're a Buffy fan or any other of the great monsters and stuff he's played, stop by and see Camden. Tell him Spencer said hi.
They're very cool. I've met him at many conventions, and I've actually never seen Buffy. But even if you've not seen Buffy, he's a nice guy.
Hey, I haven't either.
All right. Secret is safe.
That makes three of us, but keep that between us.
I also have to ask, did you get to work at all with Chuck Norris?
I did. Long time ago.
Uh-huh.
That was actually my first job. My brother and I applied for an internship at a movie studio where they were in Texas, where they were shooting Walker, and we just kind of worked our way up from the cage to being on set. It took forever, it seemed like, but it was a lot of fun. He's a super nice man. I got nothing bad to say about him at all. But I will tell you something funny. All the sets for the TV show Walker, all the doorways are half size, so he'll look taller when he walks through the door. I'm not lying. You can't make this shit up. The sets are slanted, so the tall actor can stand on the low side. Chuck Norris can stand on the high side.
That's awesome.
He's a short man. I mean, he's not short. He's just, he's vertically challenged.
I think they did a lot of that stuff for Stallone in a lot of his early movies too. I know they did in Rocky.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, he's another diminutive dude, but I wouldn't want to make an enemy out of either one of them. So.
No. Yeah. So,
no, but Walker was fun. I never really got around to watching them shoot an entire episode. I would do my thing and leave. But I don't think I've ever watched it, but it was a lot of fun to make.
Yeah.
That's great, though.
So, how far along is your feature film?
Like I said, our go date for I consider myself already in pre-production, but pre-production May, production June, hopefully, tentatively. That's the game plan. So, I mean, I'm not worried about money, so that, that makes me feel good, that there's, and it's got some great people behind it. Cheryl Clements, a genre icon I can't name, I can't name right now. I was naming him, so if you've heard other interviews, but I've been asked not to, so I won't. Yeah, so it's going to turn out great. Co-writing it with Cheryl, actually, because the first script I handed in, I don't think it wasn't really received all that well. Not that it wasn't a good script, it was just way too much for some palates. I mean, even my manager calls me up and says, "Man, have you lost your mind? This is going to be like not NC-17, it's going to be X." And I was like, all right, well, what do you want me to do? He said, "I'm going to pair you up with somebody." So Cheryl and I. She's the executive producer, so we're working on it. But there is a Spencer clause that says I will not water this down. So it's so people that have seen Snake with a Human Tail can expect what they've seen from me now. And I'm I've pushed through the envelope, so they can expect not another Snake with a Human Tail, but something along that line in intensity.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you cast Snake with a Human Tail, was it anybody like you knew previously, or how did that go about?
Sherry and I were friends, and she did pretty much most or all of the casting, with the exception of Marv Blauvelt, who I already knew, and he was coming through Dallas to go to Los Angeles. And that was, I'd been a fan of Marv's for a while, and we'd been good friends, and I sent him Snake with a Human Tail, and he was thinking I wanted him to be, the Billy Blair's character who plays Dr. Bloom. But actually I told him, no, I want you to play the lead. I want you to play this sicko priest. And he was like, oh my God. He actually read it while he was working a booth at some kind of fair or something. He was doing little odd jobs across the country while he was working his way back to L.A. And he's like, dude, this is like the most intense thing I've ever read. And I said, yeah, wait till we shoot it, if we can shoot it. And Sherry, she did. She was a huge help. She got Billy Blair to come on board, I was already a fan of Billy. If you're not familiar, he's been in like 100 things. And he only plays a bad guy, like in Sin City or The Last Stand or, Machete, and he's in Machete Kills. So I let him play I wanted him to play something different, so he got the role of faulty psychiatrist Dr. Bloom, and played it good as Gary Oldman would. I mean, Billy's performance and Marv and Sarah, everybody did an outstanding job to me. So, Thank you all.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, we appreciate coming on tonight. It's been great talking to you.
Yeah, it's
been great talking to you guys. Like I said, I've been listening to you since I think 2010. Yeah, I mean, there's some other shows to listen to as well, but I don't want to plug another show on your show. So
thank you. Annabelle does
anytime you want to have me back, let me know.
Yeah, definitely. It was great. We'll love to have you back. And Annabelle does apologize that she could not be here tonight.
Oh, no problem. Gosh darn. Well, tell her I said hello.
Excellent.
This is Herschel Gordon Lewis. If you know who I am, God help you. If you don't know who I am, God help you. But what you're watching here or listening to is without your head, and I can tell you that I have contributed to the loss of your head. So thank you for being there.